How much sugar is allowed at a time in 5 liters of our blood? How much of fat is allowed at a time in 5 liters of our blood? Or in other words, how much can 5 liters of our blood hold the glucose or fat at a time in its capacity? Welcome back to KMI Community Connect. This is Dr. Kota again. So two questions that I asked just now, before we know the answers for that. I'm going to recall our discussion about common metabolic manifestations that we commonly see in our previous video, that I asked in the form of questions about various things that I posed as a question, like glucose, cholesterol, triglycerides, waist size, family history of diabetes, family history of heart disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and various conditions, and was going to tell you about the common connecting thread for all these conditions, which we name with different names, all the metabolic names that we give with the underlying metabolic dysfunction. So to answer the questions that we posed for the common metabolic manifestations, I'm going to give the term called insulin resistance. Insulin here, the main hormone that's used for storage, is the hormone that should always trying to put the energy out into the tissues, and if it is not allowed to work properly with various things that we do, then it's called insulin resistance, because the tissues are not able to accept it for whatever reason. It's like a chicken or an egg kind of situation that starts. So the surplus energy or even the excess energy after putting it in the tissues is flowing back into the blood, and what we measure in the blood is what we are talking about, the glucose or the fats or various other tests that we perform normally to see how much the blood can hold. So now, to answer how much of glucose or sugar, which we loosely call as sugar, but it is glucose, is allowed at a time in 5 liters of our blood volume. So the answer is, it's about 1 teaspoon, which is about 4 grams or somewhere between 4 and 5 grams. So only 1 teaspoon of glucose is allowed in 5 liters of our blood. Similarly, even fat, it's a little bit more, 1 to 1.5 teaspoons, but the fat amount that is allowed is also the same number, 5 grams or 5 to 6 grams or about 7 grams max, depending with individual variations. So both glucose and fats are our primary energy sources. So what does insulin do? It takes this energy from the blood when we digest the food, and then everything comes into the blood, and puts it away into storage in various organs. I will be talking about those organs later, where it goes and all. But insulin is trying to maintain always a certain amount of sugar, certain amounts of fats, which are the primary energy sources. Now you may ask me, what about protein? Protein also is a source of energy, but it does not come as a source of energy unless the body is starving or there is excessive demand with our bodily needs when we are sick, or when we are doing high athletic performances or heavy physical work under conditions of where we don't give proper nutrition with energy, with either carbohydrates, which is glucose form, or fats. So mostly protein is for bodily structure maintenance and functions like enzymes, hormones, and to build our muscles and it involves in various processes for metabolic complex metabolic pathways for maintenance of all these functions. So you need protein as a building concrete kind of structure. It's actually like, you can imagine that this is like a home with all the structure with concrete and everything that gets put on it. So protein and minerals are a different ball game altogether when it comes to metabolism. We are going to talk about it separately. But glucose and fats, how much is allowed, is the primary thing to really address the issues that I talked about in the common metabolic manifestations that I mentioned in my last talk. So let's talk about all these, because if you look at it from a general perspective, everything that is energy is, we are calling it in different names. Glucose is one kind of energy. Triglycerides, tri means 3. Everybody knows tri means 3. Glycerides is fats. You can see 3 fat molecules that are like that, and they are attached to a backbone of a glycerol, which is a carbon compound, and this is a carbon and hydrogen compound again. So they are all attached with a backbone here with 3 fatty acids. These are called fatty acids, and fatty acids are the source of energy, just like glucose. So this is one kind of energy, this is the other kind of energy. And remember, only 1 teaspoon is allowed for glucose, and almost 1 to 1.5 teaspoons again is allowed for fatty acids. So where does the rest go? That is the question, and how insulin brings all these things by maintaining a certain amount of these energy in the blood and puts it away into tissues. We'll talk about where it goes and all in our next part. So how it goes and all, we'll talk how insulin partitions it. So this is all maintained at a steady state, and anything in excess is the one that gives the problems for most of the conditions that I mentioned last time. So if somebody is saying that somebody has high glucose, that means if there is more than 1 teaspoon, greater than 100 milligrams per deciliter, and if you are following a British system, then it is like millimoles. 20 milligrams is equal to 1 millimole roughly, so that becomes 5 millimoles or whatever. So that's one teaspoon. Anything more than that, and if you have your fatty acids almost about 1.5 teaspoons, in fact this is also about 100. For you to remember, if you are to be in the best health, even this is 100 is better. So glucose 100, fatty acids 100, and blood pressure, anything normal blood pressure is 120/80, and if you add it, it becomes 200, and if you divide it by 2, that becomes 100 again. So if you remember, 100 for blood pressure, 100 for triglycerides, which are the fatty acids, which are the energy source with fats, and 100 for glucose, 2 energy sources, and the blood pressure, which is 100. And now comes the other part, which is the HDL, which is high density lipoprotein. Lipo means fat, protein is the particle that carries it in the blood, because fat is not soluble in the blood. Blood is like water. So what it does is, the fat core is inside, and then the protein cover that is made in the liver, this whole particle is made in the liver, and it carries it in the blood, because fat floats, and if you don't want it to float and if you want it to pass through the blood, you need to be carried it with the protein particle. So lipoprotein. You must have commonly seen when you go to your doctor, when they check your glucose, triglycerides, blood pressure, and then HDL, which is part of the cholesterol, that says a high density lipoprotein. This, the more this is, the better. For men, it should be more than 40. For women, it should be more than 50. So anything less than that, that is one more condition, metabolic problem that we talked about in the last metabolic abnormalities. And waist size greater than 40 inches for men and greater than 35 inches for women, and there is ethnic and racial variations here. For Asians and Europeans and Hispanic people, this should be less than 35. and less than 33 or 32 for women. So why am I talking about all these things? Two are from energy. This is part of an energy, but more of a carrier particle. Mostly this is not for energy, but for immunity and various other metabolic functions that it does, just like the protein HDL, because it has protein. The higher the better. And this is about waste. So if you have excess energy, it can manifest as high blood pressure and also manifest as low function by clearing off of all these fats, and for better health because of improper function of the liver, and also in the bloodstream from these fat particles in combination with the protein particles to fight for various disorders, and also for cellular function, for the cell membrane function and things, and waste. So high energy can cause high blood pressure, high energy in the blood leading to high blood pressure, low function of various metabolic functions with HDL, and also waste, because that is also a manifestation of high energy. Now all these five put together is called metabolic syndrome. So that's the underlying condition, and the reason for that is improper functioning of insulin, which is insulin resistance. So the underlying main defect is the insulin resistance, and if we measure each of these and treat each of them separately with medications as if they are all happening not in conjunction but by like as if they are like mutually exclusive, we are only looking at the tip of the iceberg. The main thing which is underneath is insulin resistance, which leads to metabolic syndrome. So I am going to be again coming back in a few days to talk about more interesting details on the storage, because unless you know how much can be allowed in the blood, the rest of the part can be going into storage. So that is why today my question was for you, how much is allowed? Is it 1 teaspoon, or is it 2 teaspoons, or is it 3 teaspoons in a normal person? And what happens in an abnormal? So we are going to talk a little bit about a normal storage of energy based on what is allowed in the blood, so that the rest goes into storage. In my next talk, I'll be talking a little bit more about this. Until then, keep thinking. I'll see you very soon. Thank you.